Hi, everybody. It's Jay, and I am back in the booth with you for another sneak peek video preview for this week's new release here on Say with Jay. This week, our new release is Sugarplum Dreams. It's the third book in Jessie Gussman's Mistletoe Meadows Christmas Sweet Romance series, and I've got more about the story and a live preview reading for you in just a moment. But first, as we often do around here, Jessie has included a recipe within her story, and we thought it would be fun for me to make it for you here today, in another segment of what we like to call Cooking with Jay. As fall rolls around, there are going to be some cold, rainy, dreary days, and for me, a great comfort food is a nice bowl of French onion soup. But realizing that most of us have to also put dinner on the table more than just soup, I found a nice way to combine both of those things. And as it turned out, as I made this recipe this past weekend, it happened to be cold and rainy and dreary, and it was just perfect. So, without any further ado, let's make some French onion, chicken, and rice bake. As always, don't worry about trying to capture the ingredients or the directions in real time. They'll be listed down in the description of this video below. All right, let's get started. First, let's take a look at our ingredients. You're going to need 1 small yellow onion, thinly sliced, a 10.5-ounce can of French onion soup, a 14.5-ounce can of beef broth, 1.5 cups of long grain rice. You do need to rinse and drain your rice, and don't use minute rice. It'll cook too fast and become really, really mushy. You're going to need 1/2 cup of butter, that's half a stick, cut up into slices. You're going to need 2 to 2.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts or thighs, and they need to be roughly a 1/2 inch thick. So you can either cut them in half or pound them down to get them there, whatever suits your fancy. You're going to need 1.5 cups of shredded cheese, either mozzarella or an Italian cheese blend. You'll need 1 1-ounce packet of onion soup mix and 1 cup of crispy fried onions. The first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Then in a 13x9 baking dish, you're going to whisk together your rice, your sliced onions, your beef broth, and your can of French onion soup. You want to whisk that together until everything is really, really well mixed. Next, you're going to arrange your slices of butter on top of your rice mixture, followed by your chicken breasts or chicken thighs. Next, you're going to take your packet of onion soup mix and sprinkle that over the chicken. Next, on top of that, layer your cheese, and then wrap it up tightly with foil. From there, it goes into your 350-degree oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes. After your hour and 15 minutes is up, pull it out of the oven, remove the foil, and then evenly distribute the fried onion pieces and bake uncovered for an additional 15 minutes. Once that 15 minutes is up, pull it out of the oven, give it a minute or two to rest, and then serve. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. Not only will your house smell amazing, you'll have an absolutely delicious dinner that everybody in your family will love. And folks, there you go. I hope you will give this dish a try, and if you do, please let me know how it goes down in the comments. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Sugarplum Dreams. Sugarplum Dreams is the story of another one of the McBride children. This time it's brother Wilson. Wilson has been helping his now brother-in-law, Judd Landis, with the Secret Saint escapades. And in the course of doing that, he meets a young mother, Charity Ames, a mother of 5, whose husband left her and ran off with his girlfriend to Australia. Because he is in another country, he's decided he's not going to pay child support or alimony, and there's really no recourse that she has to make him. Because of that, she is in grave financial straits, to say the least. She is on the verge of losing her house, her electricity's about to get cut off, and she is greatly afraid that she's going to lose her children if she can't provide a home for them. Wilson realizes that she needs more than just some Christmas presents, and comes to the conclusion that God has led him to do something a little bit more radical, a marriage of convenience. The scene that I'm about to read is Wilson's attempt to visit Charity and discuss his plan with her. It doesn't quite go the way Wilson thought it might. In any case, here is that scene, and I hope you enjoy it, and then we'll come back for the full release this Friday, here on Say With Jay. It was a little harder than he thought, juggling the kid and the broom and the dustpan and getting all the glass swept up. He dropped it once and had to start again. The boy wiggled in his arms, and he almost set him down, but he wasn't sure whether he could keep him out of the glass or not. So he wrestled the boy with one hand and the broom with the other. It seemed like neither hand was winning. "Here, let me give you a hand with that." Charity's voice came from behind him as he dropped the dustpan for the second time. Turning, he saw she had her hand out for the younger boy. With the daughter in her other hand, she couldn't grab him securely, so Wilson took the boy by the arms and put him next to her so she could just wrap her arm around him. She was closer than he expected, and it felt odd. He didn't have time to dwell on it, though, since there was the glass cleanup and the talk after that he had to get through. "Thank you. I guess I'm not used to wrangling two things at once." "No problem. I was able to grow into it, and I think it's easier than having it dumped upon you. You don't have to clean that up. I can set these guys down and do it myself." "I have it," he said. He wanted to be able to talk to her, and with the glass on the floor, she wouldn't be comfortable. With 2 hands, he was able to do it in just a few seconds, and he practically followed Charity back out to the kitchen. "I take it the blood stopped?" he asked, walking to the garbage can that he'd spotted earlier. "I think so. I was afraid he was going to need stitches, but I think he's going to be okay." "You said that so calmly." He was teasing a little. Obviously, she was used to things not going the way she expected them to. "I wasn't being very calm when you came in." "I noticed." He wasn't sure what to say. He could hardly deny that she'd been yelling at her child. After seeing the chaos in the house, he couldn't blame her. In fact, if anything, he would have to ask how she was able to be so sane despite all the craziness around her. "Is that the way it usually is?" He couldn't help but ask. There was a small part of him that said he really didn't want to know. Or maybe it would be better if he didn't know. After all, knowing might make him want to change his mind. And he hadn't even asked her yet. "Some days it's worse," she said with a forced smile, like she was going to smile despite everything that had been happening around her. "I see." He nodded, putting the broom and dustpan back where they belonged, and then coming back over to the table where she seated herself. "Please sit down. she said as he stopped beside her. He hadn't gotten a ring. How could he just now be thinking about that? Wait, did he need a ring? He wasn't really thinking that this would be a real marriage. Well, a real marriage as in a lifetime commitment, yes, but they weren't starting it the way normal people did. But he wasn't going to have time to explain all that to her. He figured he would probably be doing well if he managed to get the proposal out without being interrupted. "Mommy, I want another color." The girl who had opened the door for him stood in the opening to the kitchen, a container of Play-Doh in her hands as she waved it in front of Charity's face. "Did you clean it all up and put it back in the container?" Charity asked, sounding a lot more calm than what he felt. "I did." "All right, I'll get you a new color, and then you're going to have to play quietly with it until I'm done talking to Mr. Wilson, okay?" The girl nodded, glancing at Wilson before she looked back at her mom. "Excuse me for 1 second, please," Charity said, taking the Play-Doh and giving him an apologetic smile before standing up with a child in both arms still. "I can hold one of those kids for you if you want me to," he offered, realizing that he probably should have offered before she got up. "I think I have it," she said, already taking 2 steps toward the door. "All right," he said, sitting back down from where he'd gotten up in a half-crouch. Several minutes later, she came back into the kitchen. "Maybe this time we'll have enough time for you to get it out," she said, laughing a little. "At least you're not crazy yet. I've been sitting here thinking I would probably be insane with all of this chaos." "There are days I feel like it," she said. "Mom, my head doesn't hurt anymore. Can I go play?" The boy who had been bleeding walked into the kitchen, his hand at the back of his head holding a bloodied tissue to it. "Just sit down and color for a little bit so we don't start that bleeding again." "I feel fine. I want to take this off." He ripped the tissue off the back of his head, and while it didn't look like it was gushing, there were copious amounts of blood on it. In Wilson's experience, it took a little while before a cut that was bleeding that bad stopped completely. "Oh, goodness, I think you're bleeding again," Charity said as she stood with his back toward her. "Can you hold the baby, please?" she asked, looking at Wilson. "I'm so sorry." "Of course, and don't apologize," he said. She didn't answer but hurried to grab a tissue and guide her son into the other room. It was a few moments before she came back out, apologizing for leaving him so long. The little boy on his lap was doing just fine, and Wilson said, "Maybe you could tell me his name. I've asked him a couple of times, but I can't understand what he's saying. If we're going to be spending so much time together, I should know what to call him at least." "That's Evans," Charity said, smiling and appearing relieved that he wasn't upset. She'd no sooner settled herself than the little girl with the Play-Doh was back asking for a different color. This time, Charity sent her back into the room without getting her a new one. "If you want to talk to me, you better spit it out fast." "Will you marry me?" Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out the playlist with all our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.